We're talking to one of the organizers of this very important conversation about the police-minority relations. She is LaShawn Warren, Vice President and General Counsel, New Jersey Institute for Social Justice. We're here at NJPAC, a critical conversation about race and policing. Why now? Why so critical?
Well, there have been a number of important developments in the city of Newark, including the consent decree that was entered into with the city and the United States Department of Justice. And so with these developments, we thought that it was a critical time to bring the community together to hear about these developments and give them an opportunity to weigh in.
Yeah, we were talking to your director, Ryan Haygood, about there are 10 specific recommendations to improve things that the Institute has put out. Just share a couple with us, beyond the body cameras for police officers. What are some of the other very concrete recommendations that are being put forth? Because we'll be talking solutions as well as, listen, there'll be some honest, difficult, emotional conversation tonight, but some recommendations.
So one of the things that we are urging people to do is to join our New Jersey's Communities Forward initiative. And basically that initiative brings the community and police together and tries to foster better relationships. And in doing that, it creates a safe space for people to have candid, concrete conversations and to actually have recommendations for how we can improve community police relations.
So I want to be clear, this conversation tonight at NJPAC is critical, but it is one of many.
It is one of many. One of the things that the consent decree requires is for the monitor to actually do a number of surveys, to survey perceptions of the community and how they feel about policing in the community, and to make sure that we are including their recommendations in the reform efforts.
Let me ask you this. We are in Newark tonight, but there's Camden, there's Jersey City, there is Patterson, there is Trenton. We're talking about cities and other communities where things have happened and could happen. Why is Newark's experience so important across this state and nation?
Well, I think Newark has a very important and interesting history, beginning with the rebellion of 1967, which actually emanated from
John Smith, the cab driver.
Right. It emanated from a police community connection and dispute. And
I'm sorry, to be clear, I should not have just said that in that way. There was a sense that John Smith, who was a cab driver at the time, the police had taken him in, and there was questions as to how he was being treated at the police station, and there was a sense that something was happening with him down there that was beyond what should have been happening, and his rights may have been violated, and things happened from there. Did I get that wrong?
No, that's right. There was police abuse that was alleged in this particular situation, and it was symptomatic of many other issues that happened in the community where police abuse was a problem. And so starting with that particular history, Newark is unique in that we've been struggling with this issue for a very long time. And I think what separates Newark from some of the other cities is that we have this consent decree. There was a 2014 investigation from the Department of Justice entered, and based on that investigation, we now have this consent decree. So we really do have an opportunity to reform the police department and be a model not only for the state but for the nation.
One more question. In your work, have you seen another city or a city, a community that appears to, I'm not going to even say appears to be getting it right, that really seems to be on the right track of police-minority relations, really doing good things?
I think Newark is making a concerted effort to do things right. I can't say that it's the only city it's working in that particular space, but
we're on the right track.
But we are on the right track. We're not there yet, but I think in time, with this monitoring team and the reforms that we expect to come out of that we will have a class 1 type of police department that can serve as a model for the state and indeed the nation.
Thank you so much for talking to us, but also for bringing everyone together tonight.
Thank you.
Junius Williams, Chair, Newark Celebration 350, and Director of the Abbot Leadership Institute at the great Rutgers University in Newark.
Amen.
Junius, you have experienced this issue, this complex set of issues in a way that few others have. You were there and you understood 1967, the rebellion, in ways others may not have. Tell us where we are today with these issues and what tonight needs to accomplish.
Well, unfortunately, we've seemingly only begun the conversation. There is no closure because it keeps on staying with us. How do we hold the police accountable. And it is a complex issue. It's not just a black or white issue. It's not just a matter of saying you got to do the right thing. There's a whole series and set of circumstances that have to be considered before we come up with some answers. So I hope that's what we do tonight.
One thing about you that always strikes me is that every time we've spoken, and even though you've been through some challenging situations, you remain optimistic. Talk to us about why you're optimistic in spite of the challenges regarding police-minority relations.
Young people. Some of them have taken the lessons that we've given them. Some of them realize that they stand on broad shoulders. I know I have, standing on the shoulders of people who have come before me. So as long as we can pass that on and people can continue to make it better. I love Black Lives Matter because they are maturing. They're becoming more valuable to us every day, the more I read about them and hear about them. So I think that's why I'm optimistic.
Let me play devil's advocate for a second. To what degree do you feel like folks like yourself who have been leading protests, who have been making change during really, really tough times, how open do you think that the leaders of the Black Lives Matter movement would be to advice from folks like yourself, particularly when it comes to, we were just talking to one of the leaders before about some of the anti-police rhetoric, which clearly comes from a very small faction, if you will, of that organization. Do you engage them?
Yes. Some of them listen. Some of them you have to make listen because the answer is the answer. Now, whether you take your time and do some studying and some research and come up with some information, or whether you get in trouble because you didn't prepare, you're going to get the answer. Just like I had to get the answer. We weren't that accepting. We weren't we weren't accepting the leadership that had come before us too readily at times. But as you get out there in the street, and as you grow into the suites, you find that there's some things that are just time-honored and have to be done.
Finally, tonight would be a success with this conversation here at NJPAC if what happens. This is part of many conversations, but define success tonight.
I think tonight is about conversation. I think that Ryan Haygood is on the money for trying to bring
The Institute for Social Justice?
Institute for Social Justice. I think Newark 350, Newark Celebration 350 is very important because we helped make some of this possible. We're very glad to be a part of this. This is a birthday celebration for Newark, but it's also a time for us to move forward. So we have to take that history, rewrap it, repackage it, come up with some new ideas from young people, and see if we can't find a better way to go.
The preceding program has been a production of the Caucus Educational Corporation, celebrating over 25 years of broadcast excellence, and 13 for WNET, NJTV, and WHYY. Funding for this edition of Caucus New Jersey has been provided by Adler Aphasia Center, Wells Fargo, Seton Hall University, PSE&G, New Jersey Sharing Network, NJM, and by Josh S. Weston. Promotional support provided by NJ.com, Small News, Big News, True Jersey, and by Commerce Magazine. Transportation provided by Airbrook Limousine, serving the metropolitan New York, New Jersey area. Caucus New Jersey has been produced in partnership with TriStar Studios.